Hey, very good evening to you traders. This is Mark. Welcome to your daily trading video. Actually, this is the morning, and what I've done is I've compiled two videos from yesterday and today into one election special video. Just looking through now in the morning what my plan of action is going to be, where I'm going to go, the size I'm going to take, how I'm going to trade it. Obviously, that's going to be personal to you, but what I will share is my thoughts on potentially the outcomes, some of the levels, some of the go-to stocks or currencies, or whatever it's going to be. So let's recap some of the slides from the previous videos. So we know that the likely outcome if Hillary Clinton wins the election is that the stocks are going to rally, dollar's going to rise, etc., etc., etc. Now this has been confirmed by recent action. When we've seen the polls swing towards a Clinton win, we have seen stocks rally, we have seen dollar rally. So this is kind of confirmed our thesis. So we can pretty much say this is what is going to happen if Hillary Clinton wins the election. And if we flip over and look at Trump, if Trump wins the election, vice versa is going to happen. Stock market is going to fall, as we saw when he got a bit of ground from the FBI. Investigation being fired back up, stocks fell, dollar fell, gold popped a little bit, and then vice versa when the FBI dropped the allegation, we popped. So that is pretty much cemented, and I think that's a good way of looking at it, and it's like a benchmark to go to. So what are our four possible outcomes? Well, number one is that Donald Trump wins and the market rallies. Number two is that Donald Trump wins and the market falls. Number three, Clinton wins and the market rallies. Number four, Clinton wins and the market falls. I'm going to discount Trump winning and the market rallying. I do not think that is likely to happen, or the odds of that happening are so slim that I just do not think it's going to be possible. So I'm going to discount that scenario. Let's look at a Trump win and the market falling. Now, you know what, that's unlikely based on opinion polls, but forget that. Let's just be prepared for it. If he should win, stocks will go lower in the initial term, and maybe in the longer term. Maybe it's a catalyst for a longer term move. Not that interested in that. More interested in the day's trade and throughout the rest of the week. That's what I'm looking for now. So if Trump wins, stocks are going to be hammered. But the key for us as traders is to how we can catch that as early as possible and how we can trade that. Let's look at that in a second. So the third scenario is that Clinton wins and stocks rally. That's the most likely scenario based on opinion polls and what we've seen in the last few days. Clinton's likely to win and stocks are quite positive with Clinton. But I think there's an extra thing to look at that, and let's look at that in a second. Now, number four is that Clinton wins and stocks fall. Now, I don't think stocks are going to fall straight away. I think if Clinton starts coming out ahead in the exit polls and what have you, we're going to see the market pushing up based on that. Now, where it becomes interesting is what happens after that. Now, the most clear-cut scenario for us as traders is that Trump wins, the market goes lower, we look to get short on a pullback, we look to try and get short as early as possible when we see that then happening. Now, if the polls are looking like a Clinton win and then sort of late in the evening, for UK time, start to switch to a Trump win, that's going to offer a good opportunity for us to switch to the short side and get an opportunity and get a drive lower, possibly through this low. Okay, that's a pretty simplistic look at it. Now, what's more interesting to me and what's more likely the outcome is that Clinton wins this. However, stocks may well pop off of a Clinton win, and how long they pop is going to be very, very telling. We know we've got a key level now under this low here. This was the position where it was almost 50-50, well, not quite, maybe it was 60-40 Clinton's favour. So this is how stocks had started to think, oh, hang on a second, Trump has got a possibility of winning this. Let's say 50-50 then becomes priced down here, and let's say a Trump win then becomes priced down here. You can see that we've got about 1,000 points. I mean, this is literally just me guessing at things. Nobody knows. There's about 1,000 points of potential range there over a few days if Trump wins. However, if Clinton wins and we get a little pop up, what I'll be looking for is two things. One is how strong is that rally. Now, just to recap, we want a strong rally. We're going to see good volume. We're going to see stocks opening up the next day strong. There'll be a gap up. We want to see them holding that gap, pushing, rallying hard, pulling back a little bit, rallying again. That will show us that the rally is genuine, it's firm, it's probably going to run for a few days. However, there is a possibility, and I think this may well be a likely scenario, is that we get the gap up, we get the move up. However, we could start rolling back over when people think, well, you know what, interest rates are going to rise now, we've got all this out the way, it's a bit of a relief from Trump not getting in. However, the situation is still the same. We're still in the same scenario, the global scenario, the economy, the interest rate backdrop, whatever. Are they going to use that pop? I say they as in the larger holdings of stocks. Are they going to use that to sell into, cash in for the year's end, and say, well, let's bank that for the year's end. Let's now ride out December and see what happens. And that may cause us to go lower. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, and this is purely, we're going to have to look at the price action, we're going to have to look at the behaviour of the market when it opens, the futures, the dollar, all of these combinations is where, as traders, we take that information and look at it. It may well be that we rally and then we rally through till the end of the year, have the December rally, end at all-time highs. But we will be able to see that based on the price behaviour. Okay, so if we get that and we get strong rallies and we see it holding and we may get a couple of days of that before this rolls. I don't know if this is even going to happen or the timing of this, but this is something to be prepared for. And the obvious point is to look for the area we were at, i.e. today, as the marker point. This is the point where Clinton is expected to win. If the market now trades below that after a Clinton win, then to me that's pretty bearish, and we can look to target this downside here at some point. If we push to highs and we start taking out all this, the one thing that there's also interesting is that a lot of people are hedged for a Trump win. So they may well be unwinding the hedges, and that may well cause us to rally through the all-time highs. So, I'm not calling one way or the other. I don't make a guess on this, but I'm just preparing for different outcomes. So let's have a look now. That's obviously on the equity market. The same is going to be for any of the dollar denominated currency pairs, but just based on the chart you've got in front of you. Now, what's interesting very quickly is that before we move on to looking at when we're going to get this data and how we can trade off it intraday tonight, the stocks are pretty much, or Dow is pretty much bang on the midpoint of the election range, and it's a very similar story for the DAX as well. The DAX is sitting right in the middle of that election range, so we have got both levels to target at some point. Let's just pause this window and I'm going to bring up a different window. Okay, so this is from paper. I think it's the Daily Mail. But anyway, it's the same sort of thing as one of the Telegraph. There's one of the Times, etc. But this is a reasonable pictorial for the video purposes. So this is what is interesting. Now, the main state that everyone's going to be looking at is going to be Florida. Because that, I believe, I'm not claiming to be an election special, US politics specialist, but I believe that if Trump cannot win if he doesn't win Florida. So that is going to be the one that everyone's watching. Obviously, California, New York, all the blue is a given. It's the swing states that will be interesting. So the swing states are in yellow here. So we've got Iowa, which is obviously the symbolic one, Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina. And then we've got these kind of interesting ones here, which are likely to be Republican. But we'll see. This will be the kind of guide. And if you remember Brexit, we had the Newcastle and Sunderland vote, which came out, which were expecting a very, very significant Remain, and it did come out as a Remain vote, but it was much less than they expected, and that gave us the clue. That was the catalyst for the fall. So if we start to see some of these swing states coming through one way or the other, then that's going to give us a little bit of a heads up. And then the good thing about being traders, guys, is that we can be nimble and we can get involved. We get the information the same time as everybody else, but we've got far less money to put into the market. Now, just a caveat here, I'm definitely not recommending to trade this at all. If in doubt, stay clear of it. Wait until the dust has settled and then look for, several days down the line for traditional trades. But I'm just putting it out there now. So that's that. The other thing is look at the time scales. We've got midnight polling stations in the East Coast close, and between sort of midnight and 1 they're saying we're going to get the expected result from Florida. So that's when I am going to be sitting and being alert from around midnight onwards, or maybe a little bit earlier, preparing for these exit polls. I have BBC on or ITV on just to see, because that's going to give us an early leg in, depending on how that swings. Now, obviously, if it swings one way and then swings the other, that's going to give us opportunity. So you can't just pile in and not accept and manage the risk. But there's the opportunity. So 1 till 2 o'clock exit polls due from other crucial swing states like Ohio, North Carolina, and then you can read here 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and then at 4 o'clock they're going to start to call it on some of the TV networks. So that's the timescale UK time for the election. Obviously, the go-to are going to be the Dow, they're going to be the DAX, it's going to be US dollar JPY, it's going to be GBP USD. I'm not that focused on gold. I don't want to give myself too much to look at. Obviously, gold has been hammered because of the Clinton win, and that is it will be affected. But unless it does something really extreme and becomes the most aggressive mover, I will probably focus my effort on the dollar and on the equities. And then, as I say, the next morning when the stock market opens, then it will be gun stocks, it will be biotechs, it will be all the tech stocks that have been hit recently because they're just a bellwether for the market in general. Amazon, Facebook, and these might give us clues, if we're going to roll back over, because these are the stocks that are held by a lot of the hedge funds. You've got Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google, and how these respond, I think, will tell us how hedge funds are positioning. If we see more selling off in Facebook, or Facebook not that strong, let's say get Hillary win, for example, stock market gaps up, we get a gap up in the S&P, gap up in the Dow, Nasdaq futures opens up, all the stocks are going to gap up accordingly. How they respond in that first few hours is going to be quite crucial. So we want to see if the rally is going to continue, a good bid coming into the Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Google type of shares. If they don't rally and they start to maybe retest the opening prices, especially with recent events, with Amazon missing and Facebook missing, that may give us a clue that hedge funds are selling some of this because they're the biggest holders of these stocks, and that their attitude is, we're going to use this pop to sell into. So I'm going to be watching those closely. I want to see who the market leaders are, what stocks are running, how they're running. Are we getting the classic aggressive move? Are we stalling a little bit? Is the market moving? Is it a broad rally? Is it segmented off into just biotechs? Maybe we get a bit of a relief in biotechs if Trump wins, or whatever, vice versa, or a bit of a sell-off in biotech, if Clinton wins. So is getting all this information, putting it together, and then maybe positioning from that. Obviously, the levels that we'll get will be the overnight high in the Dow, the overnight low in the Dow, and the S&P 500. The point where we had the turning point of the election. So if Florida comes out one way or the other, where was the price just prior to that? That will be a good line in the sand to work off. So assuming that's the line in the sand, then assuming price moves away from it, if it comes back to test it after it already knows the good news, that to me will be another catalyst for getting involved. And then just watching how price reacts. So it's going to be interesting. If you're not trading it, that's I would recommend not trading it and letting the dust settle and just sitting out and seeing what happens over the next few days. There'll be loads of opportunities now over the next few weeks, probably short and long, depending on who wins and where it goes. But nevertheless, it'll be interesting from a trader's perspective if you're not getting involved. But if you are, manage that risk, because it will be volatile, it will be thin. Liquidity will not be much overnight. We'll get a lot of moves. And even when it looks calm, we could have news is gonna drive it one way or the other. So just when you think you're comfortable, something could come out and swing it wildly the other way. So being very, very cautious on that, but recognizing there's opportunity there if you are inclined to get involved. So let's see what happens. I will be back with another video tomorrow. We'll look at the aftermath of it. We'll look at any future trade setups we've got. I'll do a bit more of in-depth, a longer video, and look through some more ideas that I have, maybe cover some trades that I took, good and bad, and we'll go from there. Best of luck, guys. Take care.